Wellness 123 and 123 99.7 FM. And so we've been talking about the importance of good nutrition in pregnancy, and I have here with me in the studio Mr. Tariq Al Hassan, who is a nutritionist and a mentor for young children in Lead for Ghana, as well as an advocate for health and nutrition. So we're moving on to the second phase of today's program. We're going to be looking at the importance of nutrition in children from age 0 to 6 months, specifically exclusive breastfeeding. So, Mr. Tariq.
Yes, please.
So now the baby has been born.
Yes.
Before we're talking about what happens before the child is being given birth to. So now from day one, day one, age 0, day one to the 6th month of life. So what is exclusive breastfeeding?
So exclusive breastfeeding, as the term
suggests
exclusive than breastfeeding. So breastfeeding alone, only breast milk.
No
So
water,
nothing.
no water.
No water. Absolutely no water. I repeat. So only breast milk for the newborn. From the moment the newborn is born, from that age to 6 months, only breast milk. You don't add anything to that.
Do you know of gripe waters? There are these people that sell.
I've been hearing
gripe.
about it a lot, and some people call me that, oh, my baby is like, you want to take something, can I buy gripe water? So, like, I don't encourage it. Don't take it. Don't give it to the baby. Don't whatever, unless prescribed by a physician. In some cases, except drugs or medicines that they will prescribe for the baby, like immunization and all those things. That one exclusive of that. Aside that, don't give anything to the baby from 0 to 6 months. Then you introduce something, and we'll talk about it later.
Okay.
And then if we are talking about don't give anything, we mean no water. Don't, because the breast milk absolutely about 90% water. So the baby doesn't even need any extra water. When you add water, you are going to dilute the breast milk. That's one effect of that. If you give water to the newborn, what happens is that the breast milk itself is liquid in nature. The water you are giving is also liquid. Now it's going to occupy the space in which would have been occupied by the breast milk. So it will occupy the space for the that should have been occupied the breast milk, and the newborn will not be able to breastfeed, which means that you are denying the newborn of essential nutrients from the breast milk. And then you don't also know what that water contains. You don't know what it contains.
Has some bacteria.
For the newborn, the body is very weak. The little mistake you do, infections will set in. So you will think you have made the water very pure. You have taken good care of the water. For all you know, the next few 2 to 3 days, your baby will start running diarrhea.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's inside the breast milk that make you people say we have to give it exclusively?
So when you look at the breast milk, the moment mostly we encourage that when mother gives birth, within 30 minutes the baby should start breastfeeding. Within 30 minutes of birth, the baby should start. And what happens here, that there is a logic to that, because it helps the mother's fetus to return to its normal shape. It helps the mother. It helps her to. It prevents bleeding, because there are hormones that will release, and it will.
That would.
Yeah, it will prevent
go a long way to stop.
Yeah. So it's very, very important you start immediately breastfeeding when you give birth. And the breast milk, there is a first milk that always comes out, and we call it colostrum. Colostrum is very rich in nutrients. It's a thick yellowish breast milk that comes out immediately when the mother gives birth, and it's very rich in nutrients such as protein and fatty acids. And then the key ingredient there is vitamin A. That gives it its yellowish color. Vitamin A, and vitamin A is very important for babies, their eyesight, development of their eyes, and the maintenance and development of the gastrointestinal tract, which, if it is not developed well, absorption of nutrients is going to be affected. So maintenance and development of the gastrointestinal tract for the baby, vitamin A plays a key role there. And development of the eyes, it plays key role. So if your baby is not given this nutrient, vitamin A deficiency is going to set in, and eyesight is going to be affected. And
Right.
then for protein, is a very rich protein which is not found anywhere except that breast
In
milk.
the breast milk.
Cow milk, in a way, is similar, but there is one ingredient in cow milk that is not there in the breast milk. But that ingredient can cause intolerance in newborns.
In newborns.
So you see, there's an advantage to that. Why
Yeah.
that nutrient is not in the breast milk. So it is just perfect, especially the cholesterol for the baby. Fatty acids, there is something we call omega-3 fatty acids that is very rich in it. And then when the newborn take it, the development of the brain, cognitive abilities, your baby will grow up and be very sharp in class. So all these things are there in the, especially cholesterol. And then
Right.
for a 2 to 3 days, cholesterol moves away and the normal breast milk starts. You start normal breastfeeding, then, but for breast milk too, when you look at it, the first part of the, there's always, we normally divide into two. We have the fore and the hind milk when a mother is breastfeeding. So when the baby starts suckling, the first milk that comes out is the fore milk. And
Right.
then that one is slightly watery, it's not really thick, and it is rich in the carbohydrates and proteins. Now, the hind milk is slightly thick than the fore milk, and it is also very rich in fatty acids. The good ones, of course.
Yeah.
So that is why sometimes we encourage mothers to at least let the baby latch on the one breast for at least 5 minutes before moving to the other one. Otherwise, the baby will only be taking the fore milk, which the baby will not be getting the fatty acids we talked about. So
right.
Allow the baby to latch on the one breast for at least 5 to 10 minutes. Then you move to the next breast.
Next one.
In that way, the baby is able to get more of the nutrients we are talking about. And then breast milk is always available. It is perfectly available. It's there on time. It is clean. It doesn't need any preparation. The moment baby wants to breastfeed, give it to the baby.
Right.
It is, everything is measured on, like, it is just measured adequately, and it is perfect for the age. It changes nutrients concentration changes with age of the baby.
Right.
As the baby ages, concentration change. It's just by nature. So you don't, this is what you should give to the baby. So even breast milk substitutes cannot match
exactly, because I was going to come to that. Yeah. Some young ladies these days feel if they breastfeed, their breast will fall or something, so they tend to look at the formula feed or something instead of breast milk.
So breast milk, and then one important thing in breast milk is the antibodies that are passed from the mother to the baby. We always say that is the first antibodies or immune protection the baby received from the mother. So if you don't breastfeed, you are going to deny your baby these things. And then I'm going to share with you an interesting development in relation to COVID-19, with regards to breastfeeding.
Right.
So when this COVID-19 came, a lot of concerns were raised about mothers. How will they breastfeed, especially if mother gets contracted with COVID-19? How is he going to breastfeed? But a lot of development came, more researches have been done, and then interesting facts have been released about that. Now, WHO did this study, and then they took about 46 mothers who tested positive for COVID-19.
Right.
So actually, all of them were positive for COVID-19, and they were all breastfeeding. Now, when they tested them, they took their breast samples. So they analyzed it to check if there is coronavirus in the breast milk. Now, they realized that out of the 46 mothers, only 3 of the mothers have the viral particles, not virus
not even
itself,
the viral traces,
very of the virus inside the breast milk, just traces. And then one interesting thing too came up. Babies who were breastfeeding with the mothers who had the coronavirus, they were having antibody against coronavirus.
The coronavirus.
They realized that those babies, they were antibody in the breast milk that will protect the babies against coronavirus. Yes. Wow. So this is very interesting. So the important thing here is that if a mother is affected with coronavirus, she should continue breastfeeding
Breastfeeding the
while
child.
practicing adequate hand washing, then use of hand sanitizers,
And
nose mask, and just like normal person would do. But she should continue breastfeeding because there is no
interesting.
much evidence to indicate that the mother can transfer it through the
Through
breast
the
milk to
breast milk
the
to the
baby.
child.
So
Okay.
we are talking about breast milk now. So when the baby continue to breastfeed this way, and then I said the breast milk will changes in concentration
As the
when the
baby
as the
ages.
baby ages. Now, if you don't breastfeed regularly, you will start complaining that there's no breast milk because breastfeeding is highly hormonal. If I say hormonal, there are hormones are released in the system to control some body activities.
Right.
So, and breastfeeding is also inclusive of that. When you breastfeed, hormones are released, and then some key two of them we have the oxytocin and prolactin.
Prolactin.
Prolactin helps breast milk to produce breast milk, breast to produce breast milk, and then oxytocin helps the breast to release the breast milk to the
Right.
baby. And when you continue to breastfeed, these hormones will always be there in the system to ensure that this process is
So
ongoing.
so the more you breastfeed,
The
the
more you
more
those
the
hormones
hormones are
produced to
produced.
ensure that breast milk is there.
Okay.
So if you don't breastfeed, those hormones will not be produced, and then you will say that you don't have breast milk. And it's also psychological. When you psych your mind that you don't have breast milk, then your mind and your body will also tend to interpret it that way.
Exactly,
And
because
then,
I was coming
yes,
to that.
and then you will not produce enough breast milk for your baby. But the moment make the intention, I want to breastfeed. Now my baby, he or she needs breast milk,
Right.
the body will start preparing for that. But when you say, "Oh, my breast, I don't have breast milk, I don't have this," then your body will also tend to uh, go through that line, and then you will not produce enough breast milk. And then let me be quick to remind you that the size of your breast does not
Affect the
determine the amount of
quantity.
breast milk you produce. Never,
Interesting.
it's never like that. There are always ducts in the system that produce the breast milk, and it's not coming to store there. The moment you start breastfeeding, it will come to the baby. So the breast milk, if your breast is big,
It's even fat
it's
tissue
just
that
fatty
makes
tissue
it
that is
big.
that,
It's not the
not really
ducts
breast milk
or
that is
yeah.
inside. Yeah. So the size doesn't determine the amount of breast milk you produce.
Okay, so are there any foods that you can suggest that would actually facilitate, the production? I know hormones play a great role, but we can't neglect the fact that dieting in nursing mothers is very important. So are there some foods that you can suggest to nursing mothers that
Yeah.
will enable them to produce enough?
Yeah, there are a lot of foods they have to concentrate on, and then some foods too you need to
Stay
be
away
very
from.
careful of,
Okay.
especially spicy foods. So then babies are very very reactive to that. Especially the baby breastfeed today, and then tomorrow he or she realizes that the breast milk has changed in maybe the scent or the way it was yesterday. Most babies will just
Reject it.
they will reject it, and you will not know why. So you have to be very careful, especially with spicy foods. And then with whole grain cereals, beans, or lentils, they contribute a lot to breast production. Vegetables and then fruits, they contribute a lot to breast production. Just maintain the levels of those foods and avoid processed foods. No energy drinks, no processed caffeine products. These are the foods that will help you to produce enough breast milk. The foods you have within you, concentrate on that, but no processed foods, no
No
energy drinks, or
alcohol,
no alcohol,
some
no caffeine,
drugs
no drugs, unless prescribed.
prescribed.
Yeah, these are these are the things you should do that will help you produce enough breast. And also, as you said, it's highly hormonal and psychological. Always make the intention. It's very interesting. So mothers can start thinking about their babies, and then
Then
breast will start
yes,
flowing out.
will start
It
flowing.
happens a
Or when
lot.
the baby cries,
Yes.
then
So
you realize that the breast milk starts
yeah.
coming.
So that's why even this thing we call kangaroo mother care, it helps a lot. When that contact between mother and
And
baby,
baby.
that lovely relationship, it promotes a lot of breast milk
Breast
production.
milk
Yeah.
production. Okay. Anyway, so what happens when you don't exclusively breastfeed your child for 6 months?
So, exclusive breastfeeding, WHO revealed that just in recent times, there are about 820,000 children worldwide, their lives could be saved with just exclusive breastfeeding.
Wow.
About 820,000 children's life could be saved with just exclusive breastfeeding. When you look at Ghana, for instance, as at 2008, exclusive breastfeeding was around 62%, and it dropped 2014 when statistics came like 52%. I don't
So
know.
mothers stopped breastfeeding for the first 6 months.
Exclusive breastfeeding continuously drops in Ghana. Even
Wow.
though they report that majority of them, almost 100%, about 98% report we breastfeed. But how do you breastfeed? That's the most important thing. So exclusive
the frequency and all those things.
And exclusive, and you know, culture plays a lot in that. But let's look at the effects of if you are not exclusive breastfeeding. Remember, we said if you add anything to the baby's food, it's going to deny the baby of the breast milk because the baby's stomach is very small. And then immediately the baby takes something, mostly water that they mostly introduce first. Would you go and take
baby will be satisfied?
Yeah,
or
you satisfy with water, and then you put the baby to the breast, and he or she cannot breastfeed. Meanwhile, the water has no nutrient. It's just water with nutrient. There's no energy there, no protein there, no fat there, no vitamins and minerals there. Where will the baby get this? And remember, these are the things that will help the baby to grow. That will help the baby's mind to develop. That will prevent stunting in the children. Stunting here means the baby will, at some age, we expect you to have some height. But at that age, you are still very short. You are stunted. And stunting has a lot of effect, especially on the brain. The way the baby thinks, cognitive abilities, class performance or school performance, all these things will be affected. So your baby is in class, is not performing well, you start complaining. Why?
Meanwhile, it was due to
so
lack of breastfeeding. Interesting. So,
and then let me be quick to add, when you don't practice exclusive breastfeeding, your child stands the chance of running diarrhea. And diarrhea is one of the leading causes of child mortality.
The dehydration.
Dehydration, loss of electrolytes, all this, especially zinc, which controls most of the activities of the children. So when you do that, the child is going to lose a lot of nutrients, and it can cause death. And then babies who exclusively breastfeed, they have low chances of developing diabetes in later life. When they become adults. Low chances as compared to those who don't exclusively breastfeed.
Wow.
And then obesity too is low in babies who are exclusively breastfed as compared to those who are not. So consider all these things.
So it's like whatever you do affects the future
of the child.
Yeah. Wow, which can even go as far as later in life when they are 40, 50, and then even they can start early.
Yeah, it can start early. We have children who suffer from diabetes.
Yes. Take us through the importance of nutrition in children from 6 months up until age 2. So, Mr. Tariq.
Yes, please. So, for children 6 months onwards, we assume that you exclusively breastfed for the first 6 months.
Right.
So, it is time for you to introduce family foods. We say family foods because most times we say we can't afford some of the things, but family foods, that's what we also eat. So there is a slight modification you are going to do to it so that the baby can eat it. Now, it is very important at 6 months you introduce, because there are some stores of nutrients that will be depleted at that age, especially iron and then zinc.
Right.
The baby always have stores from breast milk or from birth when you give birth, but at that age those things deplete. If you don't introduce it on time, now conditions like children's suffering from anemia will also set in, of which we don't want. So it's good to introduce on time. Don't say your baby doesn't want to get the food. Introduce it on time.
This problem is very, very peculiar, because I've been to the weighing centers before, and then you see children coming in looking very skinny, their muscles are wasting and they're kind of stunted, and the parents keep complaining, if you give him or her, she doesn't like it.
We're going to try to outline some basic things you have to always consider when you are trying to, especially at 6 months onwards. Now, the first thing is that the food you are introducing, make it we call it semi-solid food, not really solid, and it's not really liquid.
like yam.
So yam is too hard for the child. So make it semi-solid food that the baby can take. So most of we say make it a very thick. So if you are producing a porridge, make it a very thick porridge. Don't make it watery, because
Okay.
at that age the child will not eat much. So the thick porridge is very concentrated in the nutrients.
Yes.
Little the child will take, and it will be enough for the child.
Enough.
And don't force the child to take too much. Just a tea or 2 teaspoons is enough. And that is the point. You have to also increase breastfeeding. That's the mistake mothers do. They think that at that age the foods are coming to take over from the breast milk. No, it's the time you have to even increase breastfeeding whilst introducing the family food.
Gradually.
That's what we call it, complementary feeding. It's just coming to complement whatever the breast milk is providing, but not coming to take over from the breast milk. No. So you have to make the food quite thick for the baby, especially when you are making porridge. And then for porridge, there are a lot of modifications you can do to that.
Right.
I will say that don't process the maize. If you are using maize, just go and mill your maize that way, make it soft. And when you are preparing the porridge, you can add palm oil to it. Just a little palm oil. Palm oil is very rich in vitamin A. Remember, when the baby should eat. No. So that is why you say, my baby is not eating. Have you considered the environment? How you feed the baby? So you have to, if these distractions will make the baby not eat, because the baby doesn't care. Because he doesn't even know whether if I eat is good for me or not. He only knows that when I'm hungry, I'll start crying. So you have to ensure that there are no distractions when you are going to feed the baby.
Right.
And increase the consistency. And make sure that you maintain breastfeeding. Don't think that the complementary food is coming to take over from the breast milk. And then if there are some foods that are sometimes in season, not in season sometimes, especially when you consider potato. Potato is very good. Mostly when we are talking about this, we tilt our energy towards vitamin A rich sources, because it's very good for the growing baby. Very, very good for it. So
that is why you give it as a supplement when they come for weighing.
So you see, we always talk about vitamin A because vitamin deficiency is highly prevalent in children, and the effect is very great. So we talk about, and vitamin A2 is served as something that improves the immune system of the babies. So potato, for instance, you can make potato porridge for the baby to take. Very thick one, the baby can take it. And when you are preparing, you can even add more of some of the palm oil to it, and the baby can take that. So all these things. And then it's the family foods you are going to modify. You are not going to buy something extra. Yeah. And if as the baby ages, the teaser you prepare in the house, you can just, when you are take portion of it, just make it soft for the child. The child can start taking from those things, and then you are good to go. Yeah.
So it's not advisable to buy food from outside, because some parents are so lazy to cook, and so the food they would buy from outside, that is what
you don't know what is contained in it. That is the point. Yes. So this comment has reminded me of something. When mothers start complementary feeding, that is when babies also start suffering from diarrhea, because the way they prepare the foods, the sources of those foods contribute a lot. So that is the point. You have to make sure your hygiene is very tight. Otherwise, you start introducing the food, then boom, diarrhea will also set in, of which is very deadly to babies.
Wow, we've had a very intense and insightful conversation, but sadly this is how far time would allow us. And many thanks to you, Mr. Tariq Al Hassan, for passing through and teaching us a whole lot of things we need to know about our nutrition from the moment we make up our mind to be pregnant, during the pregnancy, after birth, and even up until the age of 2.